Okay. Okay, welcome everybody to this session. I'm David Domingo, as David was mentioning. I work in the Mobile World Capital Barcelona, which we have different programs, and one of the programs is a tech transfer venture builder. So we create startups based on scientific projects, which is basically tech transfer, and this is the topic of today. And I want to thank also for Year for Now to increase the visibility and the promotion of deep tech and tech transfer every year and year. So this year they have the University and Spin-off Hub. We have a lot of digital health and biotech here in the ground floor. And I think that that's good for our environment, not just having digital startups, but also deep tech startups. And we're going to talk about tech transfer, and which is knowledge transfer, tech transfer, deep tech, not? So it's a trendy word. And basically, for us, is where the science meets the industry, or where the industry meets science. No? Is that these two poles that has to be together somehow. And we think that this is very important. It's relevant because there's a big potential in these technologies developed in the academia, in the research centers, in the universities. That they are being developed, but they have to go to the market. They have to ride to the market because there is a big potential on creating a disruptive solution for the industries. And this is what together we're going to encourage everybody here to support this process of transferring science to the market. Just before we start with you, I want to do a small survey, just raising your hands. Who from the audience are in the science part? Are you a researcher? You work in university, research center? You can raise your hands. OK, only a few of you. And then who are in the other side, I would say, from the industry, entrepreneurs, mentors, investors, corporates? OK, more. So now you see that you have to mix together at the end of the session, because in the middle is the key point today. And well, yes, let's start with you. I will start with Carolina, here on my right. Basically, who are you, what you do in brain neuroelectrics?
Yes. Hi, everybody. So my name is Carolina Aguilar, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of InBrain Electronics. What we do, InBrain is a company at the intersection between deep tech, medtech, and digital health. And we use graphene, which is a Nobel Prize winner material, to decode brain signals into breakthrough medical solutions. It's basically a small implant on the brain that can identify real-time pathological biomarkers and respond to the finding on those pathological biomarkers to create therapies. From Parkinson, epilepsy, but also the translation of thought to speech, more on the brain-computer interface side.
Great. But before neuroelectrics, you studied pharmacy, if I'm not wrong, and then you spent 10 years in the corporate side. How did you do this transformation into entrepreneur, moving to the other side? How did you get some kind of training? How did you get this entrepreneurial spirit?
Yeah, so I come from a family that created a company, so I think you also live that at home. And then I was very attracted about the American giants on the medtech side, like Medtronic. So I spent 13 years working for Medtronic. And yes, indeed, I mean, I did pharmacy, and then I moved to the US to do neuroscience. And I realized there that waiting for a Western blot the whole day, it was not my thing. I was not having the patience of being a researcher, although I deeply appreciated the effort that it takes to move science forward. But I understood very early that my heart was more on the business side. So that's why when I came back to the US, from the US, I decided to work for Medtronic for 13 years because it was one of the references in the market. And it was going to be an amazing school and also a pioneering company, because it was the first brain-computer interface that existed was ever created by this company. So it was a great way to start. So I think that even within Medtronic, I had the opportunity to do entrepreneurship work and work on a startup within the corporation, which is a perfect way to be, because it's very comfortable, although there's also a great effort to move these smaller ecosystems within big corporations. But I guess this is where everything started. And then Joe Sanfeliu from Asabi's Partners called me one day and said, hey, there's some guys here that are talking about the company. that could be called in brain, what do you think about? And this is how we start all the transfer part.
Okay, great. So I mean, in the corporate you had this safe bridge, no?
Yes.
Going to the ecosystem already. So that's great. And so the spirit came from your family, so you have really in deep.
I guess that is something that you see when you are little, that things are possible if you want them to be possible. So yes, that was a big seed that was planted on me at home.
Okay, great. And then moving to Elena now, basically same question. Who are you? What do you do in Inveniam? What kind of services?
Well, thank you very much, David, for inviting me to join this panel. I'm very glad to be here. I am a managing partner at Inveniam Group. Inveniam Group is a Spanish company here in Barcelona, but active in several places in the world. And we work mainly in the space of entrepreneurship, investments, public funding, and technology transfer. We founded the company 10 years ago. My background is in technology transfer. I was a tech transfer officer for many years at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in Israel. And there I made most of my career and discovered the exciting world of tech transfer. And I would say that at Inveniam, we served many, many clients of different sorts, from corporates to startups to small companies to research institutions. But we have a very sweet spot for academic spin-offs. There, we really like to be there. We accompany them from scratch, from the start, even before they are a company, all the way to the creation of the company, to developing the business, strategic consulting, submitting public funding submissions to European and other funding agencies, and of course, we also accompany them in their private fundraising rounds. This is part of the activity, and we consider that this is proper tech transfer, as well as many other activities like licensing, etc. I think that this is more or less it.
And do you have any specific industry? Do you work in all industries?
No,
specific focus?
We're specialized. We specialize mainly in life sciences, in a very broad aspects of life sciences, from food tech to agrobio to veterinary diagnostics, medical devices, digital health, and of course, therapies. And in the sustainability sector, of course, we also there are very strong in areas of energy, water technologies, energy storage, renewable energies, and many other technologies in the field. And of lately, we are also in the industrial space, exploring more and more deep tech startups, because we believe that deep tech is a very important developing force in Europe, and we have to be there.
Okay. And you mentioned that you work as in a TTO or in the tech transfer office, but before that, I guess, I was reading that you had other marketing and sales and business development position before. And how did you enter the tech transfer, I would say, world or ecosystem?
Well, quite by mistake. It's not nice to say it, but in Israel many years ago, there was not a career for tech transfer. You couldn't go to the university and study technology transfer. There was not such a thing. It was a combination of skills, some scientific background, some legal background, some financial background. And after a career in sales and business development, I arrived to the Hebrew University when ISUM was searching for people that come with a private industry background to more aggressively commercialize the technologies of the Hebrew University. And I was there 15 years, so I had the opportunity to learn a lot.
Okay, great. We are going back then to that part, but I want just to introduce also Subhash. Again, who are you? What do you do in Technoplat? What kind of services do you offer? Where?
Well, yeah, thank you, first of all, for giving this opportunity. I spent close to about 17 years in corporate life, and last 13 years I've been a global entrepreneur, if I may say. I own and run a bunch of businesses. For the levels of this in context to Technoplat, Technoplat is a venture builder. We were first established in Singapore way back in 2017, and In 2019, we launched the UK chapter. What we do at Technoplat, we incubate technology companies. We are very strongly focused on innovation. In fact, the tagline of Technoplat is incubation, innovation, and growth. And when we talk innovation, we just are talking of sort of having an old labs kind of thing. We work closely with universities and technology companies, and we are global. We have global partnership with technology companies, universities, accelerators, incubators. We incubate those technology startups. Again, a couple of interesting features. We incubate for 36 months. A lot of incubators, accelerators globally incubates for 6 or 9 months, or maximum 12 months probably. We incubate for 36 months. And there are obviously a bunch of other sort of advantages and pluses which we have. So that's what Technoplat is. And in fact, 2 hours back, I was on this stage. I was hosting a session called Tech Tuesdays, which is my other business. And Tech Tuesdays also partner with FOA-FN on the university spin-off program. So Tech Tuesdays is actually one of the most popular, most trending technology knowledge platform in the UK.
Okay.
So yeah, that's in a nutshell what I do.
Great. And then, as you had both UK and Singapore, probably you have experiences in both areas.
Yeah, in terms of offices, if you ask me, UK, Singapore, and India. But yes, what we do on Technoplat side, we sort of operate in more than 45 markets or countries. We incubate companies, technology scale-up companies from these countries. We incubate them for 36 months, as I mentioned. We work with the entities, the academia and the technology companies on the innovation process and taking them to where they want to be, where they aspire to be. So, and in the process, obviously, what we do is technology transfer, knowledge transfers, and growth.
Okay. And then, what, in your opinion, what are the differences between Asia and Europe in terms of tech transfer? If you can highlight a couple of differences that when you are working in both sides, you can see the differences.
So, well, if you look at innovation, Asia is more innovation by the day because innovation for Asia, innovation is a key to survival. You sort of decide something, you feel a pain area, you see a need gap, you try working on it, right? That's in a very sort of crude way of putting it. And I don't know how many people from India out here knows India as a market or Asia. There's a very nice word in India called jugaad, which means make things happen. If you need something, make things happen. Okay? Now you can call it innovation, you can call it discovery or whatever it is. But by doing what you want to do, if you can help to solve the problem of at least 1,000 or 1,000,000, that's what innovation is all about. And they translate that piece of work into a sustainable long-term process is monetization.
Okay, good. And then moving more general questions. When in tech transfer, one of the processes is always dealing with university, TTOs, and having agreements between the entrepreneurs, maybe investors, maybe scientists, and also the universities. Of course, having agreements into the shareholders, into the licensing. So what are your experiences in base of examples and your own experience into what are the best practices for dealing with that negotiations with the university or research centers, and how to manage the conflict of interest of the scientists that want to be entrepreneurs? For example, I don't know, in your experience, you have passed this phase?
I have to say that I had a very positive experience because our partners were always very fair and very targeted on the long term, let's say, on the success of the company, so not on making money from day one, let's say, right? I think it's important. We come from the ICN2, the Catalan Institute of Nanoscience and Nanotechnology, ICRIA, Manchester University, and later we've been also having different tech transfers with CSIC. So all these partners were looking at, okay, how is the deal being configured so the company is successful in the long term? And I think that is a very positive mindset to have. So I was very thankful that all these people around the table could actually have that business mindset on the medium and longer term. And we realized that we had a main agreement around the licensing of this amazing technology. But soon, we also start looking for best practices at European and US frameworks that would actually look at packages of IP that would be also generated as we will actually go further with the company and still count on those researchers that are in these institutions. So, one of the things that we made happen is, okay, let's make this indeed a long-term partnership, and if there's more IP, let's make it as part of a package of, 7 to 10 IP ideas or licenses that will come also at a fair price in addition to the main license agreement. And I think that was wonderful because that allowed us to actually also apply for a lot of European grants. We actually got 21 million now from the European Commission, and many or much of that money has reverted in these institutions and on the work of many researchers that keep on collaborating with us in making this technology in brain and also future technologies success. So I think it's been a wonderful experience, I have to say.
Okay. And so you mentioned that also, of course, having this mindset of long term, no?
Yeah.
Yes, thinking that this process will even help the research center or the university to get more resources at the
Yeah.
end, because you can raise funds to go to the science back. So that's also a good benefit, no? They have to explain all the rest of the TTOs that they want to transfer.
Yeah, I think at the end is having the ambition to see that this is more than the company. At the end, I do think that we have a duty to take our researchers and our ecosystem to the next level. And how do we do it, and what pieces of the puzzle we put together to create that success for the company, but also revert into the ecosystem, I think is a very important point that also, in terms of mindset, the partners need to have. And in this case, we had it all.
Okay, good. And then maybe, Elena, you have experiences as well to share?
My experience is quite broad in technology transfer. I had the experience of working at a very large tech transfer institution, like ISUM of the Hebrew University, with a lot of patents, a lot of power, and very powerful in the negotiation with researchers and investors. And I had also the experience of being an advisor to very small tech transfer offices in little universities that are just starting their way. And I always say the same, doesn't matter if you are in a big tech transfer or in a small tech transfer, you have to do a negotiation to get both parties to win, to have a win-win negotiation. And sometimes when the universities are very powerful, they get to think that it is all about getting a lot of income to the university. Or when the investors are too powerful, it's all about trying to take all and give nothing to the university, because the university deserves zero. I have heard both, and I think that this is incorrect. The point is to get to a good equilibrium where you respect the rights of three stakeholders: the university, the investors, and the researchers. We don't have to forget the researchers. They have a conflict of interest because they have both hats. They are both researchers and will continue being researchers in the institution, and they also will have a position, some sort of position, maybe CSO or CTO at the new spin-off. And you have to handle carefully this conflict of interest so that they can be calm and quiet and rest quiet, that the tech transfer company is taking care of their rights and of their future income, and it's not doing a negotiation that is going to affect them or to damage their future rights in the company. So this is a difficult equilibrium.
Okay, great.
If I may.
Sure.
I have a sort of a different take to the whole thing, because when you talk of tech transfer, knowledge transfer, it may sound a simple thing, but it's fairly complicated. And someone like us who's been doing it now for across, as I said, 45 countries, even before you initiate a discussion of tech transfer, you've got to understand with whom you're going to talk about in that country. The very first challenge is NDA. Which court of jurisdiction you're going to take care of? Is it going to be a partner country, your country, or neutral court of jurisdiction? So that's the first challenge. Cross the challenge and then move on gradually. So it's a fairly complicated process, and you really got to have a deeper insight into not just technology aspect of each and every country where you're going to be doing the dealing. You also need to understand the sensibilities of the country, how comfortable the country is from the client's point of view. Yeah, because see, when you're transferring a piece of knowledge in whatever form, it could be script or USB drive or a CD, or just over email. The fact of life is it's becoming property of some other country. Now, to retrieve that, recover that easily is not an easy task.
Yeah.
So I think it's always important to understand the culture, the legalities, the social fabric of the country, and then initiate discussion on whatever kind of business engagement that you would want to do. That's the way we do business, and that's the way we help our cohorts of companies do business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Then moving back to another topic, another question related to this, is that we know that the scientists becoming entrepreneurs or mixing scientists and entrepreneurs for doing a tech transfer. No? We all know the startups or spin-offs created by the scientists, which are the CEO. The scientists are the CEO and the founders, and then we all know also startups funded by entrepreneurs who are mixed with scientists that may act as CTO or CSO, etc. So in these two scenarios, which are all of them are valid and great, who are the pros and the cons? No? I mean, I would just ask you like one pro and one con of both situations. Maybe in your case, I would say it's the second option, no? That you maybe came from a business side and mixed with scientists from the ICN2. What are the pros and the cons of that combination?
I've also been very lucky there. I work with a group that is very self-aware of their strengths and their capabilities and where do we play all to our strengths. So in my case, for instance, Jose Garrido, which is the practical founder, one of the co-founders of InBrain, very quickly said, look, I can be the chief scientific officer, and they were the ones looking for a CEO. So I mean, in that case, it was very clear. And I'm so lucky to work with Jose because not only he's an amazing researcher, he's also a natural leader with a very acute business acumen. So it's not common or not that common that engineers had that business acumen and that strategic vision in all cases, right? So it's very easy to translate engineering to business and business to engineering. And that is the best you can do or you can have in a partnership like that. So I think it's, I think the foundation of a company and choosing all these people that are going to be either on the board or on the executive committee or just researchers outside of the company is a very important decision to make. And I think it has to be a conscious process by both parties playing to the strengths of each of them. Because we have, for instance, Costas Costarelos, which is also part of the company, but he knows he's a researcher. He wants to be a researcher, and don't put him into all these business conversations because he might not even listen, right? Like he wants to do his thing. So it's very important to know this because otherwise you create a lot of confusion within the company in the longer term.
This is really good. You have this combination and this understanding. And in the other side, I mean, scientists becoming entrepreneurs, maybe some experiences of what are pros and cons.
I would say that a very well-known cons of having a scientist becoming an entrepreneur is that sometimes scientists do not have the required skills or capabilities. And in some cases, it's not an issue, it's not a con, because they know that they don't have these capabilities, they are self-aware, and they say, I need someone to be with me, working together. I need the entrepreneur side, the managerial side to be next to me. The problem is when the scientist thinks that he has managerial skills, thinks he's a good entrepreneur, and believes that he can do it all. These are situations in which you have a con. And these are very difficult to solve because for the scientist, the company is the baby. And it's very difficult to say to a scientist, you're not the only father or mother of this baby. There is other parents, and you have to share.
I think that sounds familiar to all of us, probably. We have worked in tech transfer. Subhash, you have an experience on that side?
I'm not a scientist, but all I would say, like every mother feels their child is the best child in the world, every scientist feels their product is the best, which is fair. The fact of life is that all they need, or all they probably need a bit of guidance is from the business side, helping them understand, yes, his child is the best, but in a particular time, in a particular country, in a particular state, in a particular situation, which is the market understanding.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where the difference comes in. So it's more of a collaborative exercise. The scientists are doing fine jobs. But again, if you look at innovation per se, it's the reality of life is that probably 90% innovation are born in the lab, equal 90% die in the lab. 10% or lesser than that goes to make that whole sustainable long-term revenue. So there's a huge amount of necessity of the business acumen, business understanding, and reach.
Good.
I guess that's what it is.
Yeah. Then we are running out of time, but I want to do the last question, very short, that we have been developing the digital startup ecosystem for the last 20 years, maybe 10 years here with the Fourier for now. Now we are, I wouldn't say starting, but we are now in the middle of the deep tech era. But what can we learn from the digital ecosystem that they have maybe more experiences developing the ecosystem, no? The mixing with investors, entrepreneurs all together. Now we are repeating somehow with the deep tech, with the tech transfer. What can we learn from the digital ecosystem? Just maybe only one, like 30 seconds each, something that we can learn.
Yeah, very quickly. I have medtech and deep tech investors. They are incredible supporters. What I learned from the deep tech investors is the ambition that they put, also the faster cycles that, of course, all the digital and some of the ecosystems have. Not all of them. And I guess in my case, we will be a digital company at the end. There's sensitive data coming from our brain that we are using to create therapies, and therefore it is unavoidable that we go that way. But I think having those agile cycles is also very important.
Okay, perfect. Elena?
From my point of view, as managing partner in Invenian, I think that the digital ecosystem and the deep tech ecosystem, they have been disruptive in our work because they have taught us to try to think out of the box. The same business models that we use to apply for medical device and for pharma are not applicable to these technology developments. We have to look for new business models. We have to approach investors with other characteristics. As Carolina said, the cycles are very, very fast, and we had to speed up.
Okay, perfect. Subhash?
I'll give you one word for this. I think digital is survival. Digital is survival for the business, for the community, and for the larger world.
Okay, good, perfect.
That's it.
Then you left me 10 seconds for just doing a small recap. I was taking notes, just 3 takeaways for you for encouraging the tech transfer. I was said about the safe bridge. So if you're in the university, you have this safe situation to start thinking of the tech transfer, developing, so you don't have to jump like an entrepreneur and start working for a corporate and jump into the, I would say, into this
Deep blue ocean.
In the deep blue ocean, exactly. Second thing about Subhash, make things happen, be active, no, and get this Asian culture to make things happen, go and try. And the last part, this long term, which is things on long term, do the agreements and everything on the long term because it takes time, tech transfer, so it's not as other kind of businesses that we have here that maybe in 6 months you can develop a MVP, this takes time, so just think in the long term, okay? So thanks you, Carolina, Elena, Subhash, for the panel, and enjoy the rest of Fourier for now.
Thank you.